Welcome back to Inspired or Acquired. This is the podcast where we interview real business owners, talk real numbers, and ask them whether or not they would sell their business. Your two co-hosts today, I'm Patrick Dichter from Appletree Business Services, and we have Clint Fiore from Dealonomy. And our guest today is a great one. Cassi Niekamp is coming to us from Columbus, Ohio. She is the owner of Bowden Fence. So, Cassi, happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday. Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. So for people who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about what you do and your fence business.
So almost 4 years ago, we acquired a 38-year-old fencing company, and they had done about a 50-50 split between residential and what we would consider light commercial. We can kind of get into that a little bit later, but full service fencing team in Central Ohio.
Nice. And so 4 years in now, and you bought it and it was doing how much revenue at the time?
He was doing about under 700. I thought you were about to say like 4 years in and a bit grayer than the last time I saw you, which is true. We have doing 700 in revenue previously.
Okay. And last year, how much revenue did you guys do?
We did 3.3 last year.
Hot dog. So 4.5 times growth in that period. Okay. And then we're talking fencing. So you scope it, you install it, and you guys also like fabricate a little bit at your shop?
Yeah. We have a 2 part-time welders that have a fabrication shop. So we sit on just under 2 acres in Columbus. So we have 2 warehouses in the back. One is a wood storage location, and then the second one is a welding facility. So we have our whole actual welding fabrication team is its own profit center. So we do about 55% gross margin alone in that, in just that welding department, which is great.
Okay. Great. And then the one other factor, you also bought the real estate, right? As part of the...
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cassi, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Like for our listeners, we'd love to get a handle on like, what did you do before you bought this company? And then kind of like ballpark on age and family situation and just kind of who you are.
Yeah. Well, I'm a farm girl at heart and grew up in Central Ohio, just north of. And my family still farms about 300 acres actively. So when I met Patrick, I think I was 24. So we have a long history. We worked at a couple companies together, both at 2 startups, Rev Local doing digital marketing, and then Cultivate Advisors, which was small business advising. However, I was on the recruiting and sales team at Cultivate, which was just such an awesome experience. I think about that that a lot because I saw entrepreneurs in so many different facets of life and also different parts of the world. Honestly, mostly North America, but of the world. Learned so much there. And then Patrick put a bug in my ear simultaneously while I had a midlife crisis. And that midlife crisis was surrounding creating your own destiny and having the time value of honestly like a legacy business, And then simultaneously, we were going through a really tough fertility journey. And I knew I would always ask my son to use his highest and best talents, like his God-given skills. But I found myself not utilizing my own talents I knew I could be doing more, So then Patrick planted the seed of the sweaty startup, Nick Huber, who
Don't blame me.
Yeah.
This is all Patrick's fault.
So you. And I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? So, I don't know. I was young, dumb, and naive. And I thought, honestly, I found this business on Buy Sell Biz. It was the first one I had found. Talked my husband into, this is how you know my sales skills are kind of decent. I talked my husband into going to see. He was like, all right, well, just like, no, we're not buying a business now. It's not the right time. And he came and we left and we went out for a drink to talk about it. And he was like, we're buying a business. Like he was so enamored with it when we viewed it and when we had toured it and met the owner that we thought, let's give it a go. And here we are.
Some people look at 300 businesses. You looked at one.
I know. What a dummy. Really dumb.
You've done great.
How'd you find the fencing company?
Just on Buy Sell Biz. It had literally been listed for a year. And it was a sleepy, yummy business. You know, it was operating off a fax machine. It was all paper. There was no digital. He advertised in the yellow pages, all the things you look for, gosh, I could come in here and like turns and dials and really crank this sucker up. Outstanding man, high integrity, and ran just like a good business, you know, just a good, and for him, it was more lifestyle. He liked to golf a couple days a week and, you know, I'd love to golf a couple days a week, but I'm far from it.
Well, you really did the thing. You know, you heard the message. You left a white collar career and got into blue collar business ownership with a theory that is a popular theory that I could take a kind of the boomer-owned old fashioned business and modernize it and really grow it. And it actually worked. Like we're
on our way.
Took it from 700K to over 3 million in revenue in just 4 short years. And so super neat to just see that validated, because I know there's just tons of people that were in your shoes that were, you know, working in office jobs and dreaming about maybe I should take that leap of faith. And it's just really neat to see that you pulled it off. And I know you won't feel like you've ever arrived or anything like that, but still your progress is phenomenal, and just really proud to see how it's playing out. Do you mind if I put on my broker hat and just talk numbers and dollars and cents with you on where you bought it and where it is now?
Yep.
Sure. Okay. So I saw in our notes before the show that you paid 1.2 million for the company 4 years ago, but that wasn't just for the business, that was for the real estate too,
Yes.
right? Can you give me an idea of like how much of that was the value of the real estate versus the value of the business? Just approximately.
We have a real hard time appraising the land here. So
Yeah.
I think what we ended up doing was a 60-40 split, 40% being the land, 60% being the business. We sit in a very industrial area. I call it industrial chic, but it's right down the street from a prison and prisoners. So, you know, it's like, it's pretty down in, you know, we're in an interesting part of town. So we had trouble appraising the land.
Yeah. So we'll maybe just say, hey, out of that 1.2 million, maybe about 700 business and about 500 real estate.
Yeah. A little. Yeah. Yes. That's
Ballpark.
pretty close. Yep.
Okay. And then, you know, in the last 4 years, I know Columbus has been kind of exploding. Like everybody I know that has anything to do with there just says there's industries moving there. There's construction happening. There's kind of a resurgence. It's one of the jewels of the Midwest right now, I think, in terms of economic activity. And so do you think that real estate has appreciated much in 4 years? Or like, do you have any idea what that real estate might be worth today?
It's a hot conversation because we're looking at refinancing, and that's what all my bankers want to know. What would the land appraise for? And, you know, I had hoped by now this property beside us would have sold, because they're asking like over 1 million per acre. So I hope they get that, and I hope it appraises to match that. But we don't have a lot of active comps in this area because it is a lot of businesses that have held on. Down the street, there's a couple. So I really don't know. Yes, the land.
So in theory, if that sold for 1 million, then yours would be like 2 if it was 1 million an acre.
Yes.
So conservatively, like I don't think we can go with the asking price of this neighbor, you know, like that's not selling. So like, would you think conservatively it's worth 1 million, but we don't know how much?
I think slightly less. Let's call it 800.
Okay.
Would think, yeah, that ballpark.
So we've maybe had conservatively at least 300K of appreciation on just the dirt on the real estate. So that's good timing on that. Anybody that bought in like that 2020 range in a hot market is still generally pretty up right now on appreciation. So, okay. And then you've grown the business a ton. Tell me, do you still have any, I'm assuming you still have some debt from the acquisition?
Yes. So between our line of credit and debt from the acquisition, we did 80% SBA with a 10% us and 10% seller carryback note. So yes, we still have some debt to the tune of combined 700.
Okay. Great. So, I mean, this is kind of a neat thing, then. I mean, just selling the real estate off and the physical assets off, you could cover all your debt 4 years in. And so we're not even talking business value yet, but I talk about the out of the woods calculation sometimes with people that are buying businesses. And I consider that not when your debt's completely paid off, but when you could sell off the physical assets of your acquisition and it would cover the debt, and you would never have to be on the hook for like your personal guarantee. Your personal assets would now be off the table. And so, SBA loans are 10 years long and you have to personally guarantee them. And that's scary for people because that means my home's on the hook and all my personal stuff's on the hook. And if this goes the wrong way, then I could lose everything. But it doesn't mean you're necessarily in danger all 10 years. It means like you're kind of in the most danger until the physical assets liquidation value exceeds the debt. And so that's kind of a neat milestone. I don't know if you've ever thought about it that way, but I'd like, hey, you've already crossed the out of the woods threshold to where you're not really, your personal neck's not really sticking out here anymore. So that's kind of a neat milestone.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, I think total inventory with excluding like our vehicles and excluding some of our Bobcat skid steers, like we have 250,000 in inventory. So things went south and I had to liquidate. I can still have my home.
Yeah, no worse for wear if you did have to, something really bad happened in the economy or in business and you had to go back to the corporate world. You could do so no worse for wear at this point. So really neat, but you are not doing poorly. You're doing well.
Hey guys, wanted to take a quick break from the show just to tell you about our companies for a second. I'm Patrick Dichter and I own Appletree Business Services. We do quality accounting and tax nationwide. So if you're running a business or looking to buy a business, we'd love to help you out with accounting and tax services. You can find us at appletreebusiness.com. And Clint, tell us about Bison Business.
Yeah, Bison Business is my firm. We do nationwide M&A. So we help people buy and sell companies. Most of our customers have companies in the 1 to 20 million revenue range, profitable businesses. So if you've got one and you're ready to get acquired, you can reach out to us at bisonbusiness.com for a complimentary evaluation. We can get you to market and get you sold. If you're a listener that's a buyer that wants to buy a company that size, make sure you're on our email list, because we'll send you out deals first before they hit the market anywhere else. But we'd love to serve you anytime you're thinking of acquiring or selling your business. We want to be your first stop at Bison Business.
Awesome. Now back to the show.
Let's talk about business valuation here. So you are, tell me the top line again last year, and then where do you think you're going to land this year?
So last year was 3.3. And, but I think it's maybe premature to tell you, but we had 4.5 million committed in deals, but 1.2 of that had carried over into 2024. So not produced, but committed. But what we actually booked in revenue dollar-wise was 3.3. Where we want to get to this year, we're on pace for 4.5. I don't really have a desire to do 4.5 this year. We're really focused on gross margin.
Yeah.
Let's call it 4 for this year.
Okay. And then talk to me about bottom line as the owner here. Like, you're working for the business full time. So I want to talk in terms of SDE, which is seller's discretionary earnings. And so that would be kind of, what are you paying yourself plus what's the net profit after you pay yourself? So like the combined, your comp plus the profit of the company equals kind of like I would call it the owner benefit, the total owner benefit of this business. Like, how much of that 3.3 million do you think is translating into owner benefit for you?
Yeah, I'm overworked and underpaid. I think that's the takeaway here. Take home, I've been doing about 75 grand, just for myself. But total profitability, as far as a percentage, with my income included, would be close to 5 to 7%. The difficulty in this business is we kind of switched our business model where we're going more upmarket. So an example was that in 2023, our average ticket was 8 grand. We now this year, a year and a half later, have a 17 grand ticket price, average ticket.
Wow.
So we're going upmarket, which is great. You would think there's a lot of protection in that, a lot of reoccurring businesses that we work with. All of that is great. Margin is where we sacrificed last year in order to get some of our growth. And I'm looking to regain that.
And then you're also like staffing up, right? And investing in inventory and trucks and.
Yes. Oh my golly. Yes.
Did you have a big depreciation number last year? Is that part of what made your net profit small?
No, I got ahead of my skis. I overstaffed last year, and in order to be in a better place this year, but we didn't hit the revenue. When I talk about that number between committed and real, turns out that bridge was harder to cross than anticipated. So because we didn't get the revenue that I had planned last year, we staffed up and then normalized. So we had to part ways with one of our sales guys, and then a office manager retired. So we're now we're in a position where we're lean and mean, really being disciplined in our finances, not wanting to bring on, new people, but being stretched in the office here.
Do you think, 2025, knock on wood, you might be able to breach that 10% threshold in terms of profitability, you and the net profit combined?
Have to. Mostly because, when we're doing the volume of business that we're doing, I'm now at a place where I want peace in the business, and peace directly correlates with cash flow in my mind. So at this particular junction, the growth is not worth sacrificing if the profit is not there. So we are going to be more particular about jobs. We're going to probably say no to some things that we want to say yes to, all of those good things.
Well, okay. I'm going to put on my evaluator cap. I think I've heard enough where I can at least ballpark you. And I've got good news and bad news. Okay. So if you came to me and said, Clint, let's get on Dealonomy and sell our business right now, because I'm just stick a fork in me. I am done. I'm ready to go do something else. I'd probably try to talk you out of it, or tell you to wait maybe till at least the end of the year to prove out these 2025 numbers that you're in progress on, where your top line is growing nicely, but your bottom line hopefully will catch up to more of a healthy profitability. Because if you had hit the market in the spring of 2025 right now, banks and buyers would be really looking at your tax returns for 2024, which are going to show that 5 or 6% SDE margin, which back of the napkin math would mean that's by maybe about 200 grand of earnings. And the hardcore banks and buyers would be like, man, that sounds like a lot of work, Cassie, to make 200 grand, and I'm going to want to pay myself 100 grand, and then that only leaves 100 grand left over to service debt. And so I can't get a very big loan here to buy this from you. So the offers might come in not too much higher than what you paid for it. If it had to be based off of, that 2024 number, you might be looking at people making the case that I want to pay a 3x of that 200 grand for the business, which is 600K. Plus I want to pay 800 for the real estate. There's 1.4 million. So you paid 1.2. The business is 200,000 more, but you've paid down debt at the same time. And so, you get 1.4 from the sale, you pay off the 700K of acquisition debt. and you walk away $700K, and you probably didn't put $700K into this business, when you first bought it. I know you didn't, because you said how you structured it. So, I mean, that's a win, but it's a small win. It's not nothing. I think you'd be real excited about, because the good news is I want to paint the other picture of like waiting till the end of the year, going off of 2025 numbers. Let's pretend we get, the lean mean team producing that 4.5 million in revenue and driving at least a 10% net margin for you. Then let's apply, a 3x multiple to 450K. And now we're talking 1.35 million for the business plus 800 for the real estate. And so we're at 2.2 million for the package. You only owe 700 in debt. So you just cleaned, $1.5 million, if you went to market off of a healthy, 2025 numbers. And we could explain 2024 was like, hey, this was overstaffing, investing for this growth. And now you're starting to see the more sustainable, stronger company in 2025 and beyond. And as long as it was looking like that narrative would hold up to buyers and banks, I think you could support that. And then you've got, a pretty big increase in value versus what you paid for it, and really have a nice, 7-figure increase versus what you have into it. So all that said, I probably want to throw out the let's sell immediately under duress situation, because I know that's probably not going to make sense, but let's say, a little ways down the road, over $2 million, like two and some change, you clear 1.5, 2 million for you and your family. And you can go do something else if you want. Does that start tempting you to say, you know what, we had a good run, we had a good 4 or 5 year run here. I think I'm ready to let somebody else take it to the next level, and I'll take this nice payday and go help my husband with what he's doing with, I know he's getting into some new stuff that I'm sure you could apply your talents to, or you could, go do something else you enjoy better. Like, does that start tempting you at that point, or how do you think about that?
When we purchased the business, my family's had to make a lot of sacrifices. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, I consistently still work 10, 11-hour days every day. And so my husband gets the kids out the door and I'm to the office at 6:30 typically. The whole goal in purchasing the business was to have a long-term asset. I wasn't in it for a short-term gain. And quite honestly, like, the last 4 years have been the hardest of my entire life. When you think about like the struggle, the pain, like I'm not there yet. Like, I still have a lot of hill to climb until this company gets to the place where I feel satisfied. I have grown very in love with my team, very in love with fencing. I mean, I am like wild about it. I love it. It's something I'm very passionate about. So I think the timing of when to sell comes down to like a gut feeling that I will know when it's time. And it's probably when I start to lose the passion around it. So I love to work. I think I love to work. But I don't know that I want to sustain the hours I'm sustaining right now. I have 2 young kids, 8 and 2, almost 3. I want to be home with them more in the mornings, particularly, but there's so much activity that happens in the morning with getting the crews out and like decisions or things that pop up and the guys are getting going. So really the next step in the business would be to hire a general manager, that sounded French, general manager, or someone to take over a lot of that crew direction, because that's actually what's the most urgent and vital. And I think would allow them to have a lot of support as well.
That's a good answer. I mean, I think that's a good rule of thumb. If you're having fun, most people that are motivated folks like yourself, like any of us, like we have to put our hands to something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's just like a God-given fire inside of you that says, I want to be useful. I want to be productive.
Yes.
I want to build and create. And so, businesses can be a great expression of that. And so as long as that passion's there and you're having fun and it's growing, the goal doesn't need to be sell. The goal could be, let's get my flexibility and time,
Yes.
so I can build the dream lifestyle here and keep that passion going, because missing too much kid stuff can start to extinguish that passion or other things like that. So I love that answer. I believe you. I think that's super solid and well thought out. So for you, even if the numbers were 2 or 3 times bigger here in a few years, it's not really you're not doing this to try to hit a particular number. You're saying, hey, I want to do this as long as it feels like the best thing I could be doing because I'm having fun at it. So.
My ego is very checked at the door, Clint. Okay. I do not have like a revenue ego goal. And I'm very inspired by John Wilson with Wilson Plumbing. Like he wants to get to 100 million. And the way I've just heard him describe it is to really benefit the people of Akron. And I think that is fabulous. I'm very inspired by him. I don't think I'm there. I'm like a 5 million type of gal. And I think that's where I want to live. I want to have peace at the end of the day because I know our business is going to be here next month. It's well ran. The way we treat our vendors and our employees is next level. Like we get to do some fun things and really change their family trees too, hopefully. But I don't have an ego in that revenue number. I want a peaceful, profitable business that's going to be here and sustainable for a long, long time.
Good answer. I'd just be curious, like, what do you think a GM what's the comp for a GM? Like 90K, 110?
I don't know. I think the right person would be between 100, 125, maybe a little north of that. But the really interesting thing is field guys are not easy to trust. Like they're slow to trust, right? So it has to be the perfect person. And it has to be somebody who knows fencing and is knowledgeable. So it's going to be more of a talent fit and a trust fit.
Yeah. I mean, I just think of, if you can get your margin dialed and get your mornings back, like,
the whole thing shifts.
Yeah. You're going to have your sights on like 8 to 10 million, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait. And I really thought, last year was just a really tough year, personally, professionally. Like I've never not had a goal in the business like I did last year. Like I swung and I whiffed big time. And I'm like, how did this happen? Where did I miscalculate here? But
are you talking about your sales goal or a cash flow goal, or what was the goal you whiffed?
Sales goal and hiring goal. So I overhired to let revenue, like to get ahead of my revenue, but we didn't get there. So essentially, this was going to be the year that we put that person in place or started a transition. And at the beginning of this year, I really had a hard time goal setting because that dream had shifted. And now it felt 2 years away, not right around the corner. And that was a hard blow for me. But we're energized now because we have a lot of problems of abundance. We have a lot of business, coming in. And so it'll sort itself out, I know.
This decision to like focus on commercial versus residential, are you feeling good about that? Like I talk to people in other industries that are like HVAC or electric, and they're just like, residential's where it's at, higher margin, they pay faster. But it seems like you're like really leaning into commercial.
I ask myself this question every day. Like, am I betting on the right horse? And the thing about commercial is it's exciting. So residential, especially in my first 3 years, was so draining. Like I can't imagine an industry where you go into homes like a plumber, HVAC, like.
Draining because of what? Crazy people or Customer service or
customer service, like really difficult customers. And, it's difficult or different, I guess, in an HVAC because that's like a very functional, non-aesthetic thing. Fencing is aesthetic or security or my dog can get under or, hey, could you keep the squirrels out? No, I can't keep the squirrels out. And people think that that's what a fence should do. So it bothered me to my core that I couldn't figure out customer service in the residential market. They pay faster, like super important for cash flow. In 2023, we had a 50-50 mix, residential and light commercial, I would call it. Then I made a decision in 2024 to bring on a very talented salesperson to focus on true commercial, which are big packages, GCs, and we've done a lot of neat projects, but they are high pressure. We're under the gun. We are at this big project right now at the Columbus Zoo, and it's wonderful. It's going to be so awesome. We're going to take our families there in a year and have so much pride. But today, what it feels like is a ton of pressure to meet a deadline that on paper, it doesn't add up with our labor hours. So there's a lot of problem solving involved with commercial, which I think I like too. But the thing I wanted to tell you about commercial is, to Clint's point about Columbus booming, is we are a WBE business and an edge business, which means with a lot of contracts, I am an opportune vendor to work with. Therefore,
so I know women owned. What's Edge?
Edge is another minority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Equality, diversity.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. So we could do a lot of revenue just based on that. And I don't have to be the cheapest. Do I have to be competitive? Yes, but I don't have to be the cheapest, like in a lot of other instances. Residential is a price game. And right now, what I'm finding is we just had 2 fencing acquisitions of 2 large competitors in Columbus in the past year. In case you guys didn't know, fencing is very sexy.
Like the big platforms from outside bought a local company?
I'm still trying to figure out who bought the second one, but yes, another company out of Cincinnati bought one of my direct competitors, which is great for the industry of fencing, that there's a lot of acquisitions and activity happening, and it's a really cool market. When it's not cool is that I get feedback that they are pricing jobs $200 less than my wholesale amount to produce the job.
Really?
Yes. And it's a lot of it has to do with bulk buying materials. And I can't win at that. Like, I don't want to do a job for practice, So, yeah, that's a little painful. So we are not winning right now in residential at all. In fact, we decided to do another price cut just to get some of that cash flow. So it's going to be less than the margins we want, but we need to get some residential in the door.
Got it. Does the commercial feel as competitive when you bid it?
Yes and no. The WBE and Edge component makes a world of difference.
You're almost running 2 businesses, 3 businesses too. You have the
oh my gosh, feels like. And when you talk about like the cash flow, we're carrying inventory and AR. So with those larger contractors, they're extending me out 90, 120 days. I just got paid on one that was 150 days and it was 6 figures.
Man.
Like all of my inventory, all of my labor was paid for. And, I had to wait 5 months for that. So there's a lot of opportunity, but cash flow, is crunched.
Yep.
Cassie, I appreciate the honesty and transparency on that, and just hearing about the struggles with competition in your space and the difference between residential and commercial and those tough decisions you're making. I like to always kind of plant some bugs in your ear if I can think of anything that might be helpful to you. One of the things that came to my mind when you were describing general manager or manager, as we say in France, like your business is kind of just 2 things. It's selling jobs and doing the jobs, right? Like it's 2 big things. And sometimes business owners get over fixated on thinking, I want a general manager that can come in and run this business, to free me up to be more of this strategy level and owner's box level stuff. But sometimes it's an order of magnitude easier to get like two people, because you kind of have two big jobs. And it sounds like maybe you have your leader on the sales side, maybe not. It sounds like you've got some talent there. Whether or not, that's another conversation, whether or not your best salesman is actually a good sales manager, because that's often two different, totally different skill sets, as you probably know. But the second part is maybe more urgent for getting your life where you want it and getting your mornings back and things like that, would be maybe it's an ops leader, or maybe it's not a general manager. Maybe we could call them a production manager, or
that's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
That's exactly what I mean. Because, not to interrupt your thought, but like when I think of my days, I get calls from every crew. We're short this customer and I'm like, wow, I can't have a concentrated thought, because it's so interruptive. And I've gotten better, but that is not my natural gift. Like I'm a focused kind of gal. Patrick and I come from a world of time blocking and being very disciplined with your calendar. And I'm like, I feel like I'm the Wild West,
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly what I mean. I'm sorry if I used the wrong term.
Yeah, well, I love that thought. Like a solid production manager could really be an unlock for you.
Yes.
Because like Patrick said to me earlier, is like that you have some real sales chops here and have a background in revenue generating, and then you've got those distinct advantages in the marketplace and winning some bids. So I mean, what if that production manager was just lights out in terms of whatever you sell, they make sure it gets done on deadline, on time. Everybody knows what they're doing in the morning, and they just like oversee those jobs, and you have a daily stand up with them where they keep you up to speed on everything. And if there's any problem they need your help on, they get your daily input on that, but they're cracking the whip, running the crews, making sure the customers are happy with the end result. And that's letting you and your sales team kind of spend most of your day in your zone of genius, like winning accounts and getting profitable work bid out there. I mean,
you'd also have like one little layer between you and all the problems, which would probably give you a lot of energy,
Totally. Yeah. That's something that John Wilson said to me. I'm like, residential's so hard. He was like, yeah, I don't deal with that anymore. I'm like, I see you have people who deal with that, and that's like a whole different, unlock.
That changed for me at the beginning of last year. Now, like 10% of problems roll up to me, and it used to be like 100% of problems roll up to me, and it's just like.
And who'd you put in that place?
We created team lead structures, so like the team leads help coach and guide other people before it gets to me. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's a real culture shift too, because in July of 2023, we hired a business operations person, and she has been a huge game changer with our office dynamics. She's been with us going on a year and a half, a little more than that. And huge. So if I could find that same relief in the field, I love our field guys. Like, they're awesome. They're just the most can-do, roll up your sleeves, we'll figure it out type of guys. I mean, we had a truck go down, which this truck is like older than me. And it is just she keeps on going, And I said, guys, we can't put any more money on this truck. She's got to, ride her sunset tour. And they're like, that's all right. We'll figure it out. Like, they're not harping me because I've made their life more difficult because I want to wait to spend money on another vehicle, and it's just so my point is, I love to interact with the field guys, but probably my energy could come more from job site visits, not we have an emergency. It's more proactive done.
Yeah. One other question I have is, like, you're in this fencing association and talk to other bigger operators. What do some of those bigger guys look like? Are they like 10 million a year and 10% margin? Or are they like 20 million a year and 15%? Or do you know?
I don't always trust the margin number because I'm like, are you stressed out of your mind and you're understaffed? Like, okay, that's impressive, but that's not what I want. So I think that who I aspire to be is this company out of Pennsylvania. His name's Jason Hurst with Integris. He has self-built this company. He's awesome. He's, I would say, maybe mid-40s. Great person of character, like wants to do well by his team, to the fact that they are oh my gosh, what do you call that? ESOP. So they're transferring to an ESOP, and he got a camper like as one of his employee benefits. Like he's
Cool.
like, hey, yeah, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to get a camper for my guys to use on the weekends, you know? Like that's where it gets fun, because when you get profitable, I mean, I think the older I get, the more my relationship with money is changing. I don't need to have a lot myself, but I do want to do fun things with it and beneficial things and meaningful things to other people. Whether, yeah, I don't know. That just my relationship with money feels like it's evolving is what I mean.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Well, if I ever sell,
what?
I'll leave you with this thought. If I ever did sell, I think it would be really interesting to, and my husband says I won't last this long, but I would love to take 6 months and like go work with local charities or go volunteer my time in a totally non-profit centric situation, just to express a different side of my personality. You know, I love business and I love to talk about it, and I feel like I can, move the chess pieces and get some really cool lift and results. But what would it be like to take a watercolor class on a Wednesday? Because I could, I'd like to explore some different sides of my personality, maybe at that time.
I'm sure you'd stay super busy. You figured out. Well, this has been awesome to catch you, kind of as spring is rolling into summer and you're going to get cranking here in your busy season. So, Glenn, do you have any other questions or parting thoughts for Cassi?
No, it just means so much to me to hear this story, because you're kind of just in the middle of your journey, and ball's in motion here. You're achieving the dream that so many of our listeners and people in my audience dream about, is leaving a good job to try to find your way. Can we experience great as a business owner, and what does that look like? And am I brave enough to step out into some debt and take a bet on myself? And it's just great to see that you're succeeding in that, and that you have passion. And even though you said it's been the hardest 4 years of your life, it's like, I can still tell that you don't regret it, and that you are passionate and are enjoying the journey at the same time. So just appreciate so much the transparency, willing to share your numbers and talk through your thought process and what this all means to you. So you've been a perfect guest, in my opinion. Like this is what we want to hear on Inspired or Acquired. So I'm gonna mark her inspired, Patrick, in the inspired column. Not really looking to get acquired right now, but inspired to keep going and growing and making Columbus better for everyone and for her team. And so, yeah, just appreciate you, Cassi.
That's the final offer by 2040. We'll see what we have to get with that.
2040, that's great. So if people want to connect with you online, where's the best place to do that? Is that like LinkedIn, your website, or?
Oh, Dictor, you know me well. It would be my email. I'm not really that cool. And I don't know how Patrick has so much time on his hands to check all these things. But run a business, run a podcast, do your Twitter famous things. Cassi at bowdenfence.com.
Got it. All right. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.